Von Doom.
Land the troubled actor in prison. 1996, the actor violated his probation when he fled from a detox center. A year later, he skipped a court-ordered test and spent the next 4 months in the LA County Jail.
Majors was found guilty of his then-girlfriend Grace Jabari, and as a result, Marvel, as well as other projects, would cut ties with the actor.
You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter, so I stayed away from that.
Katt Williams, never one to shy away from controversy, has recently shed light on a troubling issue in Hollywood: the brutal treatment of black actors by major studios like Marvel. With the recent controversy surrounding Jonathan Majors, who was replaced due to allegations despite Robert Downey Jr.'s darker past, the question arises, is there a racial double standard at play in Hollywood? Why is Marvel's treatment of black actors coming under intense scrutiny? What did Jonathan Majors do to lose his role as Kang?
Majors is accused of and her, and this is him arriving for court this morning in Lower Manhattan.
Why is Robert Downey Jr. still hailed as a hero despite a darker past?
I was surprised to admit that when I was, locked down in a California correctional facility, I said, wow, this is really not panning out for me.
Is Marvel perpetuating a double standard? And what happened to Terrence Howard and Wesley Snipes?
Person that I helped become Iron Man to re-up for the second one took the money that was supposed to go to me and pushed me out.
Are black actors expected to be perfect while their white counterparts are given multiple chances?
I'm still working on my acting skills, so when I come up as an actor, maybe they'll reach out and say, let's have a conversation. Maybe they don't feel that I'm an ensemble player.
At San Diego Comic-Con on July 27th, the Marvel fandom was hit with a bombshell announcement. Robert Downey Jr., the iconic Iron Man, will be returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the upcoming film Avengers: Doomsday. RDJ made a dramatic entrance on stage, ripping off his mask to reveal his new role as Dr. Doom. The crowd went wild, and social media has been buzzing ever since.
Von Doom.
But not everyone is celebrating. This announcement has also brought back memories of the now scrapped Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, which was set to feature Jonathan Majors as Kang. Majors was poised to become a significant figure in the MCU until his career took a nosedive after he was found guilty of assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari. Marvel swiftly cut ties with him in December, and now Majors is trending on X as fans react to the news of Downey's return. Fans can't help but wonder how Majors must be feeling, especially considering his past statements about RDJ. In 2023, Majors told Lifehacker Australia, "I would love to be across from him on screen to see how our philosophies, acting-wise and character-wise, just personally match up. I find him to be such a fascinating artist, which is why Iron Man is so fascinating. His portrayal of Iron Man is so fascinating, and he represents a very clear worldview and energy of the Avengers. And I think Kang represents a different era. Most of his fans were not kind to him for fumbling on what could have been his greatest role yet. Jonathan Majors really got to be the dumbest man alive. How TF you fumble a whole Marvel movie dedicated to you," one fan commented. A second fan added, "The astronomical bag Jonathan Majors fumbled should be studied in schools," while a third fan wrote, "Jonathan Majors messing around with snow bunnies created a branch timeline where Robert Downey Jr. had to be brought back for Dr. Doom." For context, the decision comes amid significant legal issues surrounding Majors, but there are multiple factors at play beyond the actor's controversies. Over the past few years, Marvel has faced considerable challenges and has been keen on exploring fresh narratives, moving away from the repetitive multiversal movies. Marvel's strategic pivot is largely influenced by the desire to introduce the X-Men movies, which are poised to replace the current story arcs. This shift aims to invigorate the franchise with new characters and ideas, breaking away from the last decade's recycling of concepts. The dismissal of Jonathan Majors as Kang is part of this broader effort to revamp the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While Majors was initially set to play multiple Kang variants in the Council of Kangs, Marvel's direction has changed significantly. The restructuring of Marvel's Phase 5 includes a critical decision to transform Secret Wars into a two-part movie series. This alteration allows Marvel to seamlessly integrate new storylines and characters without waiting for another installment. Previously, Jeff Loveless, who wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, was set to script Avengers 5: Kang Dynasty, which heavily featured Kang and his variants. However, Marvel replaced Loveless with Michael Waldron, known for writing Avengers: Secret Wars. Waldron's task is to expand the Secret Wars narrative, dividing it into two films, reminiscent of how Avengers: Infinity War was split into Infinity War and Endgame. This new approach not only provides additional time for a more comprehensive adaptation of the Secret Wars storylines, but also opens the door for a different type of villain. Dr. Doom, a character already being subtly introduced in previous films like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, emerges as the perfect candidate. With his rich backstory and versatility, Doom fits various narrative needs, blending science and magic, making him a formidable foe for multiple heroes. Dr. Doom's introduction is not abrupt but a calculated move by Marvel. During the commentary for Doctor Strange 2, it was revealed that Doom was being set up early on through various Fantastic Four references. This gradual buildup is essential for Doom to be a credible and well-developed antagonist, similar to Loki, who evolved from Thor's movies to become a central villain in the Avengers series. One of the significant advantages of using Dr. Doom is his multifaceted character. He can be integrated into various storylines, whether as a magical adversary for Doctor Strange or a scientific rival akin to Iron Man. His backstory, involving good intentions that lead to malevolent actions, mirrors the complexity of characters like Loki, providing depth and relatability. Marvel's plan likely involves making Doom a secondary lead in Doctor Strange 3, thereby giving him a robust introduction before his role as the main antagonist in the Secret Wars saga. Doctor Strange 3 Inches is expected to delve into Doom's character, showcasing his journey and motivations, similar to the comic storyline Triumph and Torment, where Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom team up to save Doom's mother's soul. This narrative arc is designed to create empathy for Doom, making his quest for power more understandable to the audience. The move to incorporate Doctor Doom as a central villain allows Marvel to address the Council of Kangs without focusing extensively on them. This transition gives Marvel the flexibility to either phase out the Kang variants early in Avengers 5 Inches or incorporate them as minor elements leading up to Doom's larger role. Marvel's internal discussions about pivoting to Doctor Doom date back several months, indicating that this shift is a well-thought-out strategy rather than a reactionary measure to Major's legal issues. However, other fans are wondering why this sudden harshness towards Majors from the MCU. Is it because he's a black actor, while Downey, despite his past, is continuously celebrated?
I was surprised to admit that when I was, locked down in a California correctional facility, I said, wow, this is really not panning out for me.
In case you weren't aware, Robert Downey Jr. had a troubled past due to his use and served 15 months in jail as inmate P50522. In Robert Downey Jr.'s words, he had an interesting childhood, but as you delve further into his past, you'll find that's quite the understatement. Both of his artistic parents, who divorced when he was 13, struggled with and alcohol addiction, and led lifestyles that meant traveling for work and wild party invites. Naturally, Downey caught the acting bug at a young age, but according to biography, never stayed in one place for too long during his youth, living in New York City, London, and Santa Monica. He also infamously had his first taste of marijuana when he was just 6 or 7. As his dad, Robert Downey Sr., later admitted to The Guardian, "I passed him a joint, and suddenly I knew I had made a terrible, stupid mistake. Giving a little kid a toke of grass just to be funny." For his part, RDJ once explained that the father-son duo used to bond, saying in an interview for the New Breed book, "It was like him trying to express his love for me in the only way he knew how." While an Urban Institute study shows that this type of instability can have a negative effect on children, Downey has maintained an optimistic outlook on his unusual upbringing. "To me, we were an artistic family trying to find normalcy," he told Vanity Fair. Anyway, 1987 was an exciting year for Robert Downey Jr., who nabbed his breakout role in the movie, Less Than Zero. The young actor's vulnerable portrayal of Julian Wells, whose addiction spirals amid an attempt to get sober, captivated audiences. The New York Times referred to his performance as desperately moving. Unfortunately, the role proved to be too much to handle, and Downey's life began to imitate his art. By the time the drama was released, Downey was 22, and his lifelong battle with addiction began to get worse. "Until that movie, I took my after work and on the weekends," he later explained to The Guardian. "Maybe I'd turn up hungover on the set, but no more so than the stuntman." However, Downey went on to say that this changed while filming Less Than Zero. "For me, the role was like the ghost of Christmas future," he noted. "The character was an exaggeration of myself. Then things changed, and in some ways I became an exaggeration of the character. That lasted far longer than it needed to last." Downey's downward spiral into addiction would unfortunately become infamous over the next 15 years, landing him not only in rehab, but also behind bars. By his early 30s, Robert Downey Jr.'s had led him down a dangerous path, resulting in his June 1996 arrest. The actor was pulled over for speeding in Malibu, with authorities claiming he'd been driving erratically and appeared to be under the influence of alcohol, before finding black tar, crack, and powdered and an unloaded .357 Magnum handgun in his pickup truck. Downey later posted bail, but was charged with felony counts of possession, along with misdemeanor charges for DUI and possession of a concealed weapon. The following month, Downey was infamously found asleep amid a stupor, clad in just his underpants with his clothes folded nearby, in his neighbor's child's empty bed, in what became known as the Goldilocks incident. Luckily, his neighbors decided not to press trespassing charges, but he was court-ordered to attend rehab. He escaped after 2 days, hitchhiked to a friend's house, and was taken to jail for violating the order hours later, before finding himself sent off to another rehab center. Downey was an Oscar-nominated actor for Chaplin by this time in his career, but that didn't mean Judge Lawrence Mira let him off the hook when he pleaded no contest to his initial charges. That November, Downey was sentenced to an additional 6 months of live-in rehabilitation with periodic and 3 years of probation. By the time Robert Downey Jr. was accused of skipping a test in late 1997, Judge Lawrence Mira had grown frustrated and sentenced the actor to 180 days at the Los Angeles County Jail for violating probation, according to Vanity Fair. "I'm going to incarcerate you in a way that is very unpleasant to you," he told Downey. "I am willing to send you to a state prison. I don't care who you are." Downey was moved to solitary confinement after getting into a fight with a few inmates, and was eventually released over 2 months early to attend another 120 days in rehab. Unfortunately, he was still battling addiction in mid-1999, and after missing more court-ordered tests, was thrown back into the legal system. Per the New York Post, Downey requested remaining in the county's rehab program at his hearing that August, saying of his ongoing struggle, "It's like I have a shotgun in my mouth and I got my finger on the trigger and I like the taste of the gunmetal." But that emotional statement garnered little sympathy from the judge, who told Downey, "We tried rehabilitation, and it simply hasn't worked." Downey's A-list lawyer, Robert Shapiro, was shocked when Mira handed down the maximum sentence of 3 years in state prison, telling reporters that the judge had interrupted the actor's progress in his journey toward sobriety. While locked up at the California Substance Treatment Facility and State Prison in 2000, Robert Downey Jr. gave an exclusive interview to Vanity Fair's Steve Garbarino, in which he revealed that his time on the inside gave him a lot of time to think. "It is my newfound experience that in order to get things done, I must be still," Downey wrote in a letter. "When that is afforded by an imposed restriction, illness, weather, incarceration, generally being grounded, I now believe it is God's way of giving you some true freedom to catch up on what you need to accomplish inwardly." Despite his optimistic outlook, the actor decidedly did not get the A-list treatment during his stay. Instead, he worked in the kitchen, where he made just 8 cents per hour, was forced to ward off threats of violence, lived in a group cell, and attended classes or treatment sessions or classes almost every day. Unfortunately, Downey's new routine eventually impacted his mental health, as he later said during one of Garbarino's visits, "I'm just sinking deeper into my depression sessions. Sometimes I'm just dead, living in a effing warehouse. I'm ready to get out." Downey was eventually released from prison in August 2000 and quickly began work on his comeback in Tinseltown. In any case, this isn't the first time Marvel's actions have raised eyebrows. Remember Terrence Howard? Howard recently shed some light on his tumultuous exit from the MCU. During an interview, Howard revealed the series of events that led to his departure, involving pay cuts, professional betrayal, and unexpected industry politics. Howard initially secured a lucrative deal with Marvel, agreeing to $8 million for his role in the sequel. However, as production for Iron Man 2 Inches began, Marvel allegedly renegotiated his contract, offering only $1 million. Howard's agent reacted strongly, leading to a fallout with the studio. Howard recalled,
"And my agent had an emotional reaction to a business decision, and he said, F you, and hung up the phone. Well, immediately they go to Don Cheadle."
This is where Clive Davis enters the narrative. According to Howard, Davis was initially considered for a significant role in the MCU. During his time filming The Brave One with Jodie Foster, Howard had an encounter with Susan Downey, Robert Downey Jr.'s wife and producer. Howard explained, "Susan Downey was a producer with Joel Silver. She comes over to my trailer and says, 'Wow, it's so amazing. Congratulations on Iron Man.'"
First time they've hired the second lead before they've hired the first, but Robert wants to go in there, and they were talking about Clive Davis and all of that, and I was like, okay, great. She was like, but Robert really wants to go in, but they won't see him. And I was like, I love Robert. I love what he does. I loved him in Weird Science. I loved him.
Who did they want?
They wanted
Robert.
Clive Davis.
Howard was instrumental in securing Downey Jr.'s audition for Tony Stark. But despite Howard's crucial role in Downey Jr.'s casting, the relationship between the two soured after the pay dispute. Howard tried to reach out to Downey Jr. for support, but his calls went unanswered. Howard lamented, "I called him 27 times and I'm like, and leave a message. I'm calling his assistant. I'm like, I need the help I gave you. I didn't hear from him until 3 years later. I bumped into him at Brian Grazer's wedding. He was like, oh, but everything worked out for you." And then there's Wesley Snipes, who has accused Marvel of blackballing him from Hollywood. Snipes, the man who practically saved Marvel's film division back in the late 90s with the original Blade, has been conspicuously absent from all discussions about the reboot. Despite his eagerness to return to the role and his vocal support from fans, Marvel has consistently overlooked him. Sources close to the production and numerous industry insiders point to Snipes' reputation for being difficult to work with. Stories from the set of Blade, Trinity, the third movie in the original series, paint a picture of escalating tensions and unprofessional behavior. Patton Oswalt, who co-starred in the movie, recounted some wild tales about Snipes' behavior on set.
And Wesley Snipes was going crazy, and he wouldn't come out of his trailer, and you'd walk by his trailer, and this wall of pot stench would just like, whoa, and kind of push you to the side.
According to Oswalt, Snipes was so unhappy with the direction of the film and the decisions being made by director David S. Goyer that he isolated himself from the cast and crew, communicating only through post-it notes signed Blade. There were even reports of physical altercations and outright refusal to cooperate with Goyer.
He resorted to just he would communicate with post-its that he would give to the director, and each one he would sign Blade.
Given Hollywood's penchant for holding grudges, it's not surprising that such stories would sour Marvel on the idea of bringing Snipes back. But it's worth noting that Snipes himself has a different version of events. He's spoken out about how he felt marginalized and disrespected during the production of Blade, Trinity, suggesting that his actions were a response to a hostile working environment. Unfortunately, in the power dynamics of Hollywood, the label of difficult can be a career killer, and it appears Snipes has been blackballed as a result. But let's not forget the business side of things. Marvel is now a massive entity owned by Disney, and the company is known for its family-friendly image. Snipes' off-screen troubles, including a high-profile tax evasion case that led to his imprisonment, don't exactly align with Disney's clean-cut brand. Bringing Snipes back might be seen as too risky for a company that likes to keep its controversies to a minimum. Another theory circulating among fans is that Marvel wants to distance itself from the original trilogy's darker, more adult themes. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is known for its more PG-13 approach, and Blade's R-rated blood and gore might be a tough fit. By rebooting the character with a new actor, Mahershala Ali in this case, Marvel can reset expectations and mold the character to fit better within the broader MCU. However, this decision hasn't sat well with die-hard Blade fans. Many argue that without Snipes, the character just isn't the same. Snipes brought a unique intensity and authenticity to the role that's hard to replicate. His martial arts skills, physicality, and sheer presence were integral to Blade's success. Fans feel that by sidelining Snipes, Marvel is dismissing the very elements that made Blade a cult classic. So, is Marvel guilty of a brutal double standard? Let's dig deeper. Supporters argue that Marvel needs to maintain a clean image. Yet, how clean is that image if they continue to support actors with past allegations and records? The scrutiny placed on Black actors seems far more stringent. At the same time, some fans feel that Downey did pay for his actions. One particular fan commented on this saying, "Our DJ situation happened in 1996. Iron Man didn't come out until 2008 lol. It took years for him to get work afterwards. Majors happened while he was actively signed. He has to sit for a while. He can have his redemption story too. He just can't skip the waiting part." This person offers another perspective, reminding us that Robert Downey Jr.'s allegations are much older. Is time the only factor that allows forgiveness, or is it also about race? When examining Marvel's history, a pattern of discrimination seems to emerge. While the MCU prides itself on diversity on screen, the treatment of its Black actors tells a different story. Robert Downey Jr. was given another chance despite his turbulent past, but when Jonathan Majors faces allegations, he's quickly replaced. Is there a racial double standard at play? And it's not just Marvel. The entertainment industry has a history of holding Black actors to a different standard, as seen with the experiences of Howard and Snipes. As fans, it's crucial to be aware of these dynamics. Supporting diverse actors means also supporting their fair treatment behind the scenes. Marvel's treatment of Jonathan Majors, Terrence Howard, and Wesley Snipes raises significant questions about fairness and double standards. While the MCU continues to grow and diversify on screen, the industry must address the inequities behind the scenes. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.